chemistry teachers, how are you today? I wanted to make this short video, hopefully short video, to walk everybody through um, the chemistry resource Inspire Chemistry. Maybe you missed the training at the start of the year, maybe you're new to the district, or this video is being watched in future years. Wherever you're at, I just wanted to have a video available so that way you can go at your own pace, really learn how to use the resource. I'll kind of tell you how I might integrate parts of it within an instructional lesson. But really, it's kind of ultimately up to you guys. What kind of fits your style? How do I want it to be utilized and all of that? So let's go ahead and jump in. This is what happens once you open up one of your classes. I have a test class created, no students, so I won't be able to show you like a grade book or anything like that. But I'm going to focus on the actual course. Now, you do have the book, the teacher book here, and the student book. I'm not going to go over those because you guys have the textbooks in class. I'd probably just use those. But you do have the course online, and there's parts of it that I see being utilized, not necessarily to send the students to the website, but you can use some of the ideas of it in class, whereas other parts of it would be done really well either on the McGraw-Hill page, or you can integrate it very well with Canvas. So 2 ways to access the course. I can click the course tab over here or browse this course. Typically, I click this one because it'll open up the entire course, whereas if I click this, it takes me to the last spot that I was viewing. Maybe you want that, and so that will jump you right to where you were. I'm going to go ahead and do this button here to kind of show you the entire course. So you do have a program overview, program resource. There's some instructional materials there. Module 1 is sort of those principles of science, what is chemistry, all those sorts of things. I didn't put this one into the scope and sequence or curriculum map, but feel free if you ever want to pull anything from there into a lesson, you are free to do so. Most of the rest of this is broken up into units. So you notice over here, I've got unit 1 selected, and I get to see unit 1 over here. If I were to click on unit 2 pops up, and so forth. So the structure that they have is they have units. Within each unit, they have modules, and within each modules, there are lessons. The actual content, like the lessons that students would be doing day to day, are found in the lessons, and you can only access those if you click on these or the go button here. I'm going to show you what sort of resources you get access to if you click on the unit. These are like unit planning documents. And if you click here on the module, you get separate information there as well. A lot of the information from the unit and module planning, I've actually downloaded already and organized it within the curriculum map. So you really don't need to go to these pages that much. I'll point out one thing that you may want to access. But there are things here in the lessons that I can't pull out or download. They have to be done digitally. So the main content in these lessons. This is the part that once you get it, it's fine. But the organizational structure of this is a little bit of a learning curve. So before we jump in, you have units, modules, lessons. Depending on where you click to go in, gives you different content. So let's view that top down. We'll start at the unit level, and we'll see what you have. Keeping in mind, the stuff here is for planning out an entire unit. Once you've opened this up, you can always go back to browse the course by going to this button here, and that'll bring you back to that same page that we're at. Also, you do have over here on the left where I can kind of see, okay, here's my unit. Here are these resources, which are viewable here. And I could jump to module 2 over in this navigation bar. I can open that up, and I can see here are the module planning documents, and here's the lesson. So you can navigate in this little bar, but it is kind of skinny. So I'm not going to be utilizing that for the purposes of the video, but just know that it's there. In fact, I'll just minimize it, get it out of the way. So you have unit planning and presentation resources. I do want to point out that this is not a PowerPoint that you'll be utilizing for your main lessons. Let's actually go ahead and look at it. Anytime that you open up a resource that is viewable on this resource, it pulls up this second screen. it's still within that same tab. So don't click back because this will actually stay, but the actual web page behind it is navigating. This pulled up like a pop-up box. You could think of it like that. And so if I need to get out of it, I'll click the exit. This is available for download, but really, since this is in the unit planning, all it really is just here's what the modules are. Here's the phenomena, and here's the project. So it's like big picture slides. These aren't really things that I'm going to utilize within my planning lessons. So I haven't pulled these out. I wouldn't really use this. Maybe a few of those slides you want to pull the information off of, but just so you know, there's other PowerPoint presentations later that have the actual content. These are just for the unit. The science probes, I actually really do like these. This is actually the answer key. You'll find the actual science probe down here. But the science probes I put at the beginning on your curriculum planning pages right up at the top. So you'll see those easy to access with the answer keys. Those are really good. Same thing at the top of the curriculum planning page, you have the projects. This is the answer key. The one part that isn't on my curriculum landing page, if you want it, is a rubric guide. And so if you want to access this, this is in the unit planning page. Next up, you have the learning resources. So think of these as like for the teacher. And then this is what you would give your students for their science probe. So this is the student version. This is a project planner if you're doing the STEM unit project. And these are student versions of the project and the rubric. So think of that second tab as things for the students. You'll also see this tab on pretty much every single one of these. Teacher added resources, you can actually add in your own documents to help with your planning. Sometimes there are some documents added in by the resource. I'm going to ignore those for the most part. Sometimes there's stuff there. You can add to it as well. We're not going to worry about it for the purpose of this video. So you can kind of see the unit planning just has those big picture things and answer keys. That's all it is that's there. We haven't even got to the real content yet. I'm going to go back to browse this course. That's where we came from. We went to structure and properties of matter. Now we're going to go down a level. We're not going to go into the lessons yet. I'm going to click go or click on the title here into the module. So this is still sort of like planning out for a few weeks because a module contains the lessons for a few weeks. So again, you'll find more resources here, but these still aren't like your daily lessons. So you do have the module planning and presentation resources. You have a link to the teacher book for that module if you need to go view that. You do have the science notebook answer key that is on your curriculum suggested pacing right up at the top. You have access to that and the student version, what they'd be filling in if you're doing following it kind of as is. The teacher PowerPoint, let's go ahead and open up this one. I don't think this is the actual PowerPoint yet. This is a module planner PowerPoint. The quick way to easily decipher if you're opening up the right PowerPoint is how many slides. And since this one's not a ton of slides, again, this is just helping you organize your thoughts on how am I going to do this module. The actual PowerPoints we'll show you in a second. It's also directly linked on the curriculum map, so it's easier just to go that way. Solutions manual. Yeah, so teacher resources. And then similar to how it was in unit planning, now here's the student version of things. And just if you need access to it, there is a Spanish edition. This is the science notebook. This is linked. If you click on the title of any module, it opens up this student notebook. And then there's also the key right next to it for you. The Learn Smart notebook, this actually has a lot of the questions. This might be something for you to investigate. I haven't had time to dig into it, but it's a good way to assign to students and have them learn, and provides them feedback. This seems like it's a really good resource. I haven't had time to mess with it a ton. You'll see it pop up in a few other areas. And then it's just talking about, hey, how do you open up this module? How do you wrap up the module? What are your assessments? And those sorts of things. So you might open up the module with encountering a phenomenon or a lab. This is a CER that students will do at the end. So you'll probably see if I open up this, I have the CER, you would think, more labs, different ways that you could wrap up the unit, some supplemental problems. So you can kind of see these are just like, how do I plan out my beginning and ends? Module test. Yep, I have those linked into, well, I have some of it linked. I have your answer key linked, but I can't actually get the test. You have to come digitally to do that. But what's awesome is you can actually modify the test questions and pick whatever you want. So it doesn't do it any good for me to link the test, but this is where you can find the module test if you want to do those. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. This is a bit closer into your daily lessons, but it's kind of framing how do you operate within a module. Let's go back to browse this course. And then finally, there's the lessons. Within the lessons is the actual content following the 5 E's. If there's anything in there that could be pulled out, I have. So for example, the labs, you can easily see those on the curriculum map. Again, all of your teacher documents are up here at the beginning on your answer keys. Here's your PowerPoint. This is an actual PowerPoint. They're not fancy PowerPoints, pretty plain, but you could steal the information off or change the theme of it. But a lot of the content's there, some images and text. So feel free to utilize those. And it's also linked on the curriculum map because if it can be downloaded, I've tried to pull it out for you guys. Learning resources. This is the student version of things. There's that smart book again, and then it starts going into the 5 E's. Some of these are useful for doing online. Some I would recommend separate. So the engage. Sometimes they just do a PhET as an engage. I'm not going to worry about assigning that through McGraw-Hill. We have PhET as a resource. You could access that different ways. And sometimes there's an actual activity on here that you might choose to do on here, or maybe just steal some ideas and engage your student with a class discussion or some sort of lab. There might be other ways to do the engage. Sometimes it makes sense to do it with the resource, sometimes separate. Keep that one in mind as a sometimes could be utilized on here. The explore and explain is where the main content is located. These interactive contents here can only be done on the resource or via Canvas. And so these are what you're going to go through and choose. Is this something that I want to assign to students? You can assign them all. You can assign certain one of them. You get to choose. There's also this presentation option. So if whatever I've selected, I can present. And so if students are going through it in class, I can have it up on the board and we can go through it together. So there is that as an option as well. So those only done online. And then here are the labs. Sometimes there's more labs than others. I pulled out and downloaded those. You have access to these quicker and easier on the curriculum map. Elaborate, I'll show you what this one is. This is the same for each lesson. The elaborate is just one question, and it's just a text field for students to enter the response. Is this the best way doing it online? Probably not. You could do a CER activity with some of these questions and do that all completely separate from having to get students onto the resource. So the elaborate piece, it does bring you good questions. Maybe you want to collect those digitally, but I might use something else to do that with. So keep that in mind. The elaborate doesn't make sense to me to assign that on the resource. And finally, the evaluate, you have a few things. This is the same for nearly every lesson. Vocabulary review cards. This is nothing flashy. I'm going to try at some point to come up with a better version of this. You also have the lesson check and your answer key. The answer key I've got downloaded and you have access to on the curriculum map. The lesson check, you have to assign it through this resource. But just like the module check or module test, you can change the questions if you open it up here. And then these are just the lesson library, respits out some of the stuff that you've already used up from up above. And same with the teacher added resource. We've talked about that before. Not as useful information down at the bottom. Sometimes you might find something there. Okay, so I hope, let's just kind of review it and then we'll wrap up. Within the browsing the course, it's broken up into units. There are some unit planning documents if you click on this go button. Then each unit are different modules. There are module planning documents and review and assessment documents within the module if I click this go button. To get to the actual lesson contents, open this up, click on the lesson or click on that go to get to all that content. So the structure and how this is organized is not my favorite, but once you've got that down, you can navigate and get to anything. You're good to go. So that's hopefully a helpful presentation that's going to get you utilizing the resource a bit more, thinking about how I can blend that into my classroom. But I wanted to show that navigation piece as it is probably the first barrier to using the resource well. All right, I think that's all I got for today. I hope this video was super helpful for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.